Hi, this is Liesel here. I'd just like to give you a quick tutorial on how to wick the Zeus X Mesh. A very kind gentleman helped me, and without his help I'd still be in Dry Het City. This coil is still clean, but just a tip, if you want to clean your coil, leave the cotton in there and dunk it in water and scrub it with a toothbrush. But I don't need to do that now, so I'm just going to get rid of the cotton. Okay, one piece of advice I want to give you is these mesh strips that they send with the tank, they're a little bit too long. So what you need to do is cut off this band here at the top and a single row underneath it so that they end up a little bit shorter. You'll see here if I put two side by side that I've cut the one. I hope you can see the difference in the length of it. Otherwise the arch that it makes is just too high, and your cotton will touch the top of your tank, which will result in dry burns, which are awful. I also actually prefer to use this roll of mesh, and you cut it lengthways in half, and you just measure up with an old one that you've cut already, and you can get them ready beforehand and cut a few, then you don't have to be cutting new ones all the time. Okay, so I've taken my cotton out. I'm going to bring the watts down a little bit to 25, and I'm just going to pulse to burn any of the old juice off of here. Then you can take your screwdriver and just make sure that your arch is nice. You'll see here, I see the one side of mine is a bit higher, so I'm just going to even it out a bit. That's the type of arch that you're looking for. See, it's not as high as what it would be with the untrimmed mesh coil. Next, what you need is these softy organic cotton balls. You can buy them from Discount. It's like 25 Rand for a bag of 100. They come in balls like this, and all you do is you find the edge where it was rolled up. This is always a little bit easier said than done. And of course the one I've got now would be one that I can't find the edge of. There we go. Okay, so you basically just unroll it until it's one long piece. Then you put it flat on your counter or worktop, and you stroke it a little bit to get rid of any of clumpy balls that are still left there, because you don't want those. And you just smooth it out. Right, it doesn't have to be perfect. Then you cut it down the middle. Lay that side over that side, so you have one cut edge on this side and one cut edge on this side. Then this in turn you cut down the middle again. I prefer to put the cut sides on opposite sides because they tend to clump a little bit. Then you place them on top like this and just massage them together. And you can roll them a little bit between your fingers. Just make sure that they're nicely gelled together. Now this cotton is thick, and you want it that way because cotton in a mesh setup needs to be as thick as anything, because you need all the cotton to push up against that mesh. If it doesn't, you're going to be getting dry hits, which is what I was battling with over and over again. The nice thing about this Dischem cotton is that it doesn't collapse when you put your juice on it, so it maintains its form quite well. Now this is difficult to thread in. You need to push down with your nail or with your finger on the spring-loaded platform and then pull through. One important thing to note is if you're using this mesh, make sure the side that you're pulling on is the smooth side, because the side that you've cut will be textured, and then this will catch your cotton and make this even more difficult than it already is. And just patiently feed it through. This is more than enough on the one side. It's just that that cotton is now being so tightly pulled, it's a bit buggered. Okay, that's where I'm going to stop. Then you leave quite a distance over here, we'll trim it up later, and cut on this side as well. Now what you want to do is make these into a bow tie shape like such, and then you can pull this cotton down into the corners to make sure that it's getting right into the edges where it needs to be, and this also flattens the mesh out a little bit and make sure everything's nice and tight in there. Then to thin the cotton out, you start at the bottom, so you brush it all to the top and then start thinning out, and literally we're only going to be left with about a third of this cotton. I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I like everything to look exactly equal, so I may be a little bit anal and excessive when it comes to making it look pretty. Then on the top as well, make sure you get any clumps where the cotton has compacted out, because that will inhibit your juice wicking up nicely. Okay, you see that's quite a lot of cotton. I'm just going to cut it there for now. I'll do on the other side. I hold it there just to keep everything in place. Mind you, it shouldn't be moving because that cotton is in there very snugly. Luckily the Zeus is a top flow air tank, so you don't have to worry about leaking. It's just the wicking that needs to be done correctly. Okay, I've gotten rid of all the clumps and excess baggage. So that is what it will look like in the end. Nice and fluffy. We'll fluff this one up as well. Now you want to trim it to about there. So I'm just going to do that. To get it into the wicking ports, you fluff it up like this and sort of separate it into a top half and a bottom half. and you will wick from the bottom up. Okay, I'm going to do that on my side so I can see what I'm doing. So I've pushed the bottom end in. Now you just comb this over, and this will stop your cotton clogging up your juice ports. This should go in pretty easily. Like so. Okay, I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. If some straggly bits come out, you can always just cut them off. Okay, I've separated it, top and bottom. Now I'm just going to cut off a bit there, a bit on top, and tuck these bottom pieces in. And comb the top down, tuck them in. Okay, now the last thing you do is you just zhoosh it up a little bit over here so that it's nicely pressing up against the mesh and tame any flyaway pieces. You'll see here, although it looks very thick, it's very malleable. So this cotton looks like it's stuffed in there, and it probably is, but it's loose, so it'll be able to wick really well. And that's that. Now I'm going to juice it up. This you need to do liberally. I'm using NCV One Shot milk chocolate, which is really very, very good. And you mustn't be shy when you are juicing up a mesh coil. This cotton doesn't have any taste whatsoever. You don't need to burn it off. It'll just be pure flavor. Now I just pulse a little bit so that the juice is drawn into the cotton right to the middle. See, it's still going in. Chocolate smells divine. Okay, that looks like it's good to go. Do a final neatening up of the cotton. Sometimes this is easier with a toothpick because I find the tips of the tweezers sometimes get stuck in the cotton. I'm just making sure it's in on the sides. Okay, now I'm going to put the lid back on. Fill my tank up. Good enough. My top cap back on. All the mess away that I've made. Okay, now I'm going to crank the watts up to 50 and we'll have a nice deep drag with no fear of a dry hit. It's perfect. Try it.